Hi everyone, you're listening to the Vialucci podcast, uncensored and completely unedited discussions about life and everything in it. We hope you enjoy the show.
The song's growing on me, the intro song's growing on me.
It's only taken a few years, eh?
Joe Foster.
Good morning.
It is a pleasure to meet you. I've been told off recently for talking too much online. They've been having a go at me. Everyone's an expert. So if I can be allowed to 60 seconds to get off my chest the things I want to say, I'd appreciate it, just so I can get it all out now.
It's your show.
Yeah, so
you can do what you like.
Our show. So I'm annoyed at you and me about something.
This is an interesting start.
Okay.
Because I've prided myself coming out the gutter of clawing for people to inspire me. So I've been through every audiobook, all the books about people past, mainly past, because there wasn't a lot of modern people that were alive that would inspire me. Mostly people in America, it was all the LA sort of stuff. So I'd been through all of them. And then your book dropped on me. And I was annoyed. I was thinking, well, how have I missed this? I had no idea. When was your book published? Shoemaker?
Just over 12 months ago. So 2020, October 1st, 2020.
When did you start when did you put pen to paper, so to speak?
About 7 years before then.
Really?
Yeah.
And was it a constant working on it, or were you coming back to it every sort of few months sort of thing?
No, not really. I'd retired, as you know. I'm retired and I'm lying back nice and in the sun in Tenerife and reading Wikipedia and Google, and they're telling me how Reebok started. And there's a photograph of Joe Foster, and he's the founder of Reebok. And who's he?
Yeah.
Not a clue. No idea who would talk, what they're saying, and who time. So numerous people said, why don't you write your story? And I said, well, I don't know. But this prompted it.
Yeah.
I thought, I've got to get the record right. So yeah, 7 years ago, I started writing. And I'd not kept any diaries. So the main problem was chronology.
Yeah.
I come up with, I did this, and I did this, but when did I do that? So it took me at least 5 years and 5 different drafts just to get round to the point where I'm happy with the story, with the chronology, with everything. Then I asked the guy to read it because I'm a shoemaker. Believe it or not, shoemaker.
It says in the title, to be
that gives you a clue.
Yeah.
That's right. So probably didn't think I was a really good writer, and you need a story to sort of just keep you going.
Yeah.
You need to want to read the next page, next page. So I got a guy just to sort of, we called it colour it in.
Right. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
So he coloured it in, and we ended up with a story 5 years ago that we took to a publisher, and between a publisher getting hold of it took 2 years to get that onto the market and going. So now we're going.
There's I hate to shove praise in people's faces that aren't, but it's really good. And I didn't see that when I asked if you'd come on. It's not because you're an author who's got a book out. It genuinely was your story, and it sort of reminds me. We mentioned this before about the Rocky film, where the Rocky film, it's a love story with boxing in it, and your story isn't about trainers. It's about your story.
Yes.
Putting a trainer company together. Oh, that was the other thing. Why the term shoe and trainer? Why was it? Why I would always called it a trainer. Why is a shoe? Is that my just stupidity that I always imagine a shoe as a formal thing? Why? Where did trainer come in, or where did shoe come in? Like, where does?
Let's put it. A trainer is a shoe, isn't it?
It's a type of shoe. Yeah. I always imagine a shoe is a
a shoe is a shoe. The shoe industry. When we sort of opened, Jeff and myself, we sort of started our business.
So Jeff, your brother, this is
he's the brother. Unfortunately, he's not with us. Yeah. We actually sort of you learn your trade, the shoe trade,
right? Okay,
but really, where we sold our product was in the sports trade,
right? Okay, oh, see, okay,
all right. So we were in 2 different trades. We learned how to do the manufacturing through the shoe industry, but we did our selling into the sports trade.
Right, yeah.
So it was different. And we actually taught the shoe people a lot of things because they made shoes.
Right.
We made trainers.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so yeah.
There's a difference between making shoes and making trainers. Trainers is it's a sort of type of. I mean, now we all call them sneakers.
Yeah, that's yeah. There was a point in the book, because I've got like ADHD and bloody dyslexia, so I never trust myself. So I have to keep re-listening to make sure I heard what I heard. And when there was a guy in it called Shoe,
yes,
I said, "Hang on, shoes? Who? What?" And I had to keep going, right, did they definitely say Shoe the fellow or Shoe the person?
Well, and there is a company called Shoe as well. There's a high street company.
Is there?
Shoe, that sells shoes.
How did he spell his name?
He spelled it S-H-U, but it was short for Shula. And it's Russian.
Oh, it's Russian. I thought it was Asian. Oh, okay.
No, it's Russian.
I knew a guy from China was called Shoe. So.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He was, I think, his second generation Russian immigrant into America.
So he was your first door into America, sort of thing.
Not my first. No, it was one of. The reason.
But he was the first, was he not?
No.
I thought there was 3, but he was the first one.
I had at least 6. The first one was a guy in New England. I'm just trying to search for his name.
Where's Chicago then? Was Chicago not through him the first time you went there?
No, I didn't meet Shoe in Chicago.
Oh,
Chicago was the NSGA show. That's the National Sporting Goods of America.
Okay.
And that's where the government sort of decided they wanted us to export, or the sports trade they wanted to export. Right. And they introduced us to the NSGA, National Sporting Goods of America. That's in Chicago, and they were willing to pay for the stand and our return airfare, plus half of our expenses whilst we were out there. Which, why stay at home?
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons you stay at home is a few expletives cold.
Yeah. Everyone that says Chicago, I'd heard, okay, it's cold. But no, everyone says, no, you don't understand. It's not England cold. It's like this proper cold.
Yeah.
Well, it's the Windy City, isn't it? That's part of it.
No, it's not that.
No,
the Windy City is to do with talking. There are a lot too many politicians. There's a lot too much talking.
Oh, so it's not
Chicago.
to do with the weather?
No.
It's sort of become.
But it's been sort of. People do make that connotation, but it's
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Track and field. Are you a runner?
Oh no,
never did it. Well, when we were there, of course, being a sporting goods exhibition, a lot of athletes go out running, go out training, and when they came back, there was icicles on the face.
That cold.
Icicles. Yeah, just sort of breathe in.
So it's a different type of cold that I would know. It's
probably very dry cold, but it really is.
I knew
biting.
a girl who came over here. She's an actress, and she's from Russia, but up in the hills. So I can't remember the name. I couldn't pronounce it. And she said, "You don't know what cold is till you're talking 40 below." She said, "There's rules." She said, "You know how your rules here about the landlord of a pub can't get you drunk anymore. If you know that person's drunk, you can't just give them a drink because something might happen. You're culpable now." She said, "Well, in Russia, in certain places, there's the same thing, but with the weather. If you think somebody's a little bit tipsy and they're on their own and they leave, that weather can kill you. Will die if you fall asleep. It's not like here where you might get the pneumonia. You will die in the cold, and they know that's how." I thought, wow, when you think about the weather killing you,
it was solid. You just go solid by morning if you fell asleep.
It made me laugh when you was in the book. You said you went to America and you was explained to me you're from England. And so when he said, "Is that near London?"
Near London, yeah.
And I love the Britishness of it when you just went, "Yeah."
You're like, sure.
Yeah. I can't offend you. Yeah.
You accept that, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I love America. I love the Americans. But they do have a very insular, surprisingly enough, a very insular view. A lot of them do. A lot travel.
Yeah, cool.
But they also take American with them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They don't understand you're in another country. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. America comes in, and the voices are always loud.
Yeah.
You do get, I mean, we're talking in general.
We're talking in
general, because I know a lot of quite nice Americans. When I say nice Americans, but they speak quieter and, they listen.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of Americans don't listen. They're very loud.
I mean, I knew a guy from New York, and people say cliches aren't everyone, but there's a reason why things are a cliche, because the knowledge has been handed out. These generally try to be that way.
They point towards general trends.
And I knew a guy from New York who was an exaggeration of a person from New York. He didn't know. Again, space was no difference. Whether you were 5 feet or 20 feet, he was talking at the same volume.
Yeah.
And it
was all outdoor voice, was it? No indoor voice.
It did feel like he was just. I'm trying to edit words, but he didn't seem to ever listen to anything you were saying. It was like a glaze when you talk. He's just waiting for you so he can start talking again.
Right.
It was like
He
nothing
didn't listen,
bad.
just spoke.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I remember when I went to America, And I'd held it off because it's always a thing, me getting to America. And this is from somebody who lived on the street, so it was a bigger thing than you'd think. Mm-hmm. And when I went there, I was so used to here fighting everyone. Anything you want to do, if it's not normal, why are you doing that? Are you still doing that? Why are you doing that? Just do that. And it was like, I'll use the term pissing in the wind. It's like you had to fight every inch. There's never any gust behind you. So you have to fight everything. And when I went to America, it was the opposite. You have to be careful what you said to people, because if you say, I'm doing so-and-so and so-and-so, they'll get on their phone. Oh, my cousin. No, hold on, wait there. I'll get him. And you go, oh, hang on. No, I just meant I might do it no, it's okay. I'll get him on the phone now. You go, oh, this is what it is. This is like, they're ready to go. Everyone thinks they can be the next CEO of something. But it's nice, but it's an extreme nice. You've got to sort of understand the flow of it.
Oh, yeah. Indeed.
But I love that because we're coming up to 10 years now of me banging my head against the wall. Like before we've turned the first pound coin is literally like this month. And it was the 10-year thing. It felt such an affinity to listen, because we've been struggling like finding a new place, getting equipment and all that with the contracts. But it was just reminding me of your story.
Right.
We spoke about this before you got here, me and Charles, of every time you get a bit of success, you would think a sane person would just enjoy that success. But no, you're on the next risk. You're risking it all, and you can't explain that to somebody.
That is something. Yeah, I wanted to ask, because it seemed like that there were with the growth of your company, it seemed that there were certain levels to it. With becoming national and then becoming sort of international. Between Britain and America, and then going global. And it seemed that you sometimes reach these sort of almost to the glass ceilings, and then you would look for ways to sort of push through to that next level. I mean, is that something you actually felt? I mean, is that something that was just in the reading process, or you felt when you were going through this?
I mean, I think that your thinking progresses. You get to a certain point, and what's next? It is always what's next. The journey is better than arriving. Yeah. So I never wanted to arrive. It was always a journey. Yeah. And eventually, when we did become number one, and we were a $4 billion company, and that's when I retired. The challenge was gone at that point. So what you're saying is like, you achieve something, you get to a point, you think, well, how do we improve? Where do we go next? Whether you improve or not, it's having fun.
Yeah,
it's enjoying that journey. It's building a family.
Yeah,
and it's taking it forward, and I think it's something that I don't know whether it's in the DNA or whatever it is. But
this is my constant thing with it, because there's when I was doing my little thing, I had to not tell people the problems that we're facing, because it made me look bad that I carried on, and it was like, is there something wrong with you, or why would you carry on doing something that doesn't make any sense to people? So you go, there's something wrong with me. I don't know what it is, but this seems like the right thing to do. And also, you mentioned in there about it being an enjoyable process. Do you remember the? I don't know if it's a philosophical thing. It was just to do with how you live your life, and it's about the dying lion. Do you remember that? Hyenas.
Oh.
There's a dying lion. And it sounds like ego, and it's not. This, I mean, you constantly have to apologise for wanting to do something in life. And the lion's dying, and all the hyenas around him, saying, all the young, all jumping around, laughing at him, saying, you're old, you're going to die, blah, blah. And he looks at them and he says, yeah, I'm going to die. He said, but when I lived, I was a lion. You'll always be hyenas.
Right.
And that's an over-exaggeration, but it's that thing of like, it feels right to be doing what I'm doing and constantly taking risk, and people constantly saying, why are you still doing this? Why are you still doing it? Why are you risking that? That's gone wrong. Just let it go. Do the other thing. But it feels like the right thing to do.
Well, if you're having fun, I mean, you wouldn't do it if you weren't enjoying it. Yeah. It doesn't mean every day is real fun and real enjoyment. Yeah. But, if you get up with the wrong attitude, if you're facing something and say, how'd it go? It should be. We got a letter from Adidas. We were only 4 years into our business. And our silhouette had 2 stripes and a T-bar. And the lawyers for Adidas said, this is infringing the 3 stripes of Adidas.
Right, yeah.
Desist. And for 5 minutes, Jeff and I have a look at, oh my God, what do we do? And then start smiling and you think, Adidas, no, we're here.
Yeah.
I just know we've arrived.
And they're messing with you, really. I mean, they think they deem you as competition.
Great stuff. So what do? We pin that on the wall.
Right,
Stayed on the wall for a long time. We just changed our silhouette. And it improved because we got the what called the vector now.
Oh.
Yeah. And that gave it a better distinctive look.
And that what I liked about your book, again, this is why I like your book. It's it's the times when things are really going to go tits up, where it's those moments where it's just where you get a letter and you open the letter and you go, the blood drains from you. Oh no!
Yeah.
But for some reason you keep like I didn't realise the licensing problem. I thought you get your name, that's your name.
Yeah.
Not every country you go to, there's another, or there's somebody using another. You know, you say about Spain could use a name without.
Yes.
Is that still current now?
It's probably changed now because of the EU. I mean, we go way back. They had Latin law. We had sort of whatever law it is.
Right.
And their law was first to the post. If somebody registered it, they registered it. And even though they were copying somebody, they'd taken their name from somebody else. We weren't the worst on that. Puma had it worse. They took a hell of a long time to get their name back in Spain. Yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's why is it so, having been through the process, why is it such a big deal trademarking a name? Why is it so expensive? There's no work involved, like there's no major, you're not changing governments. I don't understand.
Well, you're joining into a legal situation where governments and authorities have to agree with each other that this is how we treat somebody's name, and that has to go into a register. It employs people.
Right.
And
but it just seems like, that should be done in a day and a couple, but it's like, that was the thing we want to speak about. We were just talking before you come on about you talking about writing letters in business.
Yes.
And how did the process of business run when
you were communicating a lot with America? I think
right.
There was a point where you had lots of letters going back and forth, and there was sort of response times and stuff. And I was saying there was a talk of you getting a catalogue together and you having to go to the printers and get that sorted. And I just thought, wow, it's changed very quickly to be instantaneous. And this whole thing of communicating, you were talking about sitting down and composing a letter and actually sort of thinking about the contents of it instead of dashing out an email. And it's a very different way of thinking about it.
Well, I mean, this is the thing that we go back now. I mean, a lot of people talk about, what would you do now? What would young Joe Foster do now? Well, just a minute. Let's go back. Let's go back to 1958. In 1958, computers, mobile telephones, smartphones, none of that communication. It was a letter.
Right.
Even, we used to have to connect, if it was by telephone, it was by the cable under the Atlantic. The cable used to go down. And of course, there's only a limited number of lines on that.
Right.
So to get a call through to America,
just a phone call.
It's like, you had to go through reception, telephonist sort of thing, and they say, I'll get back to you. Because they had to find free line.
Oh,
so maybe an hour later, maybe even a day later, we've got your call through, Mr. Foster.
No. The phone call was
it wasn't even a certainty of phone call.
No. Well, it's like it relies upon somebody being at the other end as well, that you can do that. Then we moved on from that to telex. I don't know if you knew telex. Telex was a machine where you typed it in and it punched holes into a tape.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then you fed the tape into them. You dialed up the number. Then you fed the tape in and it came out the other end.
Didn't they use it on the stock exchange? I think that rings a bell.
Probably similar sort of thing they used to use,
I've heard the police have used I think the police have used it, but I didn't know what it was.
I mean, those are the sort of thing. The problem with telex was, it's like you paid for every whole punched hole. And,
oh, my God.
So it's like a telegram.
So instead of sort of saying something pleasant and nice, it usually got shortened off and it became rude.
Oh, right, because it's just abrupt. There was no finesse to this language,
Need this tomorrow.
Yes. No.
Oh, by the way, can you manage this sort of thing? We'd love it if you could do it tomorrow. None of that. Need this tomorrow.
There was a Ricky Gervais, I was listening to his podcast. He was talking about that he got a letter to go to the Buckingham Palace.
Right.
And they just send it and it says, blah, blah, blah. Will you be attending? Yes or no? And he said, I couldn't just tick no. And so he said, I had to phone them up and say, hi, my name's Ricky Gervais. I said, I can't just tick no and send it back. It's too, he said, thank you very much, but I can't. And the guy said, that's the first time anyone's ever done that. Thank you very much. And I thought, I couldn't, no, I'm not going no.
Do you like me? Yes, no.
Yeah. Why? What did I do wrong? Yeah. So I have to remind myself that you were there when World War II was going on. Like, because
just about.
So what would you have been about 10, 7, 8, 9, 10, something?
I was 10 when it was over. I was 4 when it began. I was born in 35, and it started in 39. And of course, it means I've got 6 years growing up with the war. And what do you think about that? Were you scared? No.
Was it
we
normal?
Were just kids.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was just you didn't realise.
That's what you expect.
But you did, what they call it, conscription? Is that what? No, what they call it when you
national service. Yes, did national service.
So when would that have been? What years would that have been?
53 to 55 it would have been. I was 18 when I went to do national service.
What did that entail then, national service?
National service meant that for 2 years you were taken away from home, you were given a uniform, and you had to do
And where would it have been, like Greece or Germany or something?
Mine was in the UK. I was on radar.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, it was a very new radar. It's in the book.
Right.
A very new radar station on the East Coast. And it was a bunker. I forgot the name of the bunkers. But these went down underground and it went out on the sea as well.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, but it was the latest thing. When I first went, it was to Felixstowe, a place called Trimley Heath. And this was at ground level, the radar station at ground level. And all the old equipment was there, and we sat around. It was in winter when I arrived. I was sat around in greatcoats and gloves on, and these things whirling in front of you, telling where it is. And then it was only about 3 months later that they did open this new one at Bordsey, and wow, it was like state of the art, something like James Bond at that point. You go down there, it's fabulous.
Do you think you'd be able to use a radar machine now? No, just got it.
Well, I mean, there was nothing much to it. I wasn't technical radar. We were actually operating.
Oh, okay,
so
right.
we were just following.
Right, you weren't the engineers. You were just relaying the information.
Well, we were taking fighters up over the North Sea, and they do practice interceptions. You take 2 up, and one would practice going into the other one. And
so can you actually remember like the rise of Hitler and all that? Can you remember the name?
I can't remember the rise of Hitler.
He was early. I mean, he was doing stuff in the 20s, though. I mean,
yeah. I mean, 1936 we had the Olympic Games.
He was doing something in the
Jesse
20s.
Owens.
Yeah.
I thought it was only like a 6-7 year.
The Munich Putsch was 20s.
Oh, I thought he
went
late
to prison.
30s.
He went to prison for attempting a coup, and then got out, and then that's where we wrote Mein Kampf. And we're not here to talk about Hitler again.
Well, it'll be a first. If
got a bit of history in here.
No, I'm fascinated by those times. There's not many people I could talk to about. You were actually there when like everything was going on. So when did rationing stop? All right, this is the last war question.
Yeah.
When did rationing stop?
When did rationing stop?
Stop, yeah.
Oh, I can't say, but it must have been about 4, maybe 5 years after the war. Oh, so we're talking about probably in 1950.
50 something.
Wow, all the gears had to just get going again.
Yeah, it had to keep going for a long time after.
So back to praising your book again, and this is just me having to get this off my chest because I loved it so much. It was you focusing on how many problems. It made me feel better with everything I'm going through, and we're like in it. We're like 3 days before we get kicked out, and I'm like steam coming out my ears.
That was a nice thing. It's not a straight line. I mean, I know nothing ever is, but the interesting bits I found were the hurdles, and you seem to have a lot of obstacles and a lot of hurdles, and it was how you dealt with them and your attitude to them as well.
Yeah, it seemed to be a book of hurdles. With every now and again something would go right.
Yeah, I think life is. If you sit down and do nothing, maybe there's no hurdles. Except how happy are you sitting down doing nothing? So every time you move, there's always somebody ready to step in front of you, make life difficult. It's not a straight line. It's not that easy. But when you're young, you're indefeatable.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So you fail. So what?
Yeah.
It's got to be sort of, oh, that didn't work, so we'll try something else. That didn't work, so we'll try something else.
Yeah.
And it's only that keeping going. And then I think once it was in the DNA to begin with. Yeah. Because my brother wasn't quite the same as me. He loved the factory.
Yeah.
He just loved it, and all he wanted, we had this agreement. Jeff was saying, I'll look after the factory. Joe, you do everything else.
Yeah.
And that means everything else.
Well, you talk about your father, and when you were sort of wanting to go, and it was really nice where at the end, you sort of think back to your dad and the conversation about growth and the fact that you realise you're juggling so much in one part. I think it's when you're talking to Shu about something, and he's saying, we need the thing, but you're so busy just trying to keep the thing floating here that at the end you say, maybe my dad was actually doing what I do, bottling things up, and but he just didn't express the fact that it's not that he wasn't ambitious, it was just he knew what he was doing, and that was more difficult than maybe he knew. I thought, oh, that was a nice little way of coming around of, oh, you're sort of might be doing what he's doing. You're trying to keep yourself safe. You want to do things, but you haven't got time to explain why you can't grow because you're struggling so much with the other thing.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that was it Shu that it was constantly going on to you about getting wrong orders and things like that?
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
It was a good lesson. It was a good, because it makes you think, well, okay, we didn't seem to have those problems back in the UK. But it's a bit like French wine. Does French wine travel?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when you get it across in the UK and think, I used to like this when I was down there in France. Why don't I like it now?
Right, yeah.
You know, some things don't travel. And maybe our shoes didn't travel at that time.
Right. Yeah, it was great. I can remember like sort of sighs of relief for whatever reason hearing your story and the fact that, oh, that's a bigger problem than I've got. Because the amount of times you were thinking, I have to explain that we might go broke. I think there's 3 or 4 times where everything's on this. We're waiting for the phone to ring. We're waiting for a letter to come through. And I thought, okay, it's not that bad for me at the moment. I'm not quite there. But yeah, all the problems. All the problems is great. But it reminded me of something I was saying to somebody a few years ago where everyone nowadays wants to have a brand. I mean, just not even just a company. They want to be a brand.
Right.
And it's there's so many problems that you almost don't want to stop telling them because there's no point. You have to face it. I can't tell you what you're going to face.
Right.
And it was a thing that I said to this person. I said, you have to understand that it's going to take up all of your time, more than you've got now. And this is the thing. Life doesn't care that you're starting a company. It will carry on as normal. And there's things, I mean, I think it was 3 deaths from your brother?
Yes.
Your brother's son? Was it your brother's son?
Yes, yes. My brother's son
and your own daughter.
My daughter,
which,
yes.
And I was and that was one, again, I think I just took the pressure off me, was thinking, like, I haven't got that. So forget, you're not struggling, my friend. But I remember having to go to a meet, and I'm embarrassed about it now, where I had to go to the meeting, and I was doing this with nothing. And I had to go to the meeting. I'd set up for about 3 months with a photographer to try and get them to work for me for nothing,
right.
Because I want to put this whole thing together for nothing so I could do a book. And on the way there, getting a phone call saying, "Oh, your best mate died last night."
Ouch.
Didn't make any sense.
No.
And it reminded me of, because it didn't make sense. Like, this doesn't work. Whatever the rules of life are, this doesn't make sense. How can he be dead? I just saw him the other day. It doesn't make any sense. And it was when I think when your brother's son died, they didn't want. I think it was a spleen. He was going to have a spleen removed or something like that, and he died in the operation, a complication. But they didn't want to. They couldn't bring themselves to go and view the body, and they asked you to do it. Okay. And I think this would be nice. I'd like to say something about me if I ever wrote a book. I literally took a deep breath at a point because you started talking about the door in front of you, the wooden door. I thought, yeah, that's what happens. I remember when I was told, and suddenly I was just focusing on the magazine that this bloke in front of me that was reading, and why is he reading that magazine? And it was when you said, and this isn't verbatim, but you said, I knew I had to go in and look at something, because you had to identify the body, that I knew that was going to stay with me the rest of my life. And I went, before you said, and then you go and you explain things. I thought, oh my God, like that's right. And even when you mention, again, life doesn't care. I think it was an award ceremony in America when you got the phone call to say your daughter was struggling with leukemia, but she wasn't, it wasn't critical right then to get a call to say, oh, she's dead. And it was your thing in your brain of like, doesn't make sense. No, you're supposed to slowly happen, and then I get a call and I come and we show. Yeah. But life doesn't care. It doesn't care about your business.
It's the wrong order as well. Parents don't see the children die.
Yeah.
It should be the opposite way around.
Yeah.
And so those things, a lot of things happen in the wrong order. And, it's like trying to balance your life beyond that. And you do. It's one of those things, because you've got 2 families when you have a brand. The minute you say you want a brand or you do a brand, that's a family.
Yeah.
It's a different family. You've got your sort of your life family, you marry, you have children, and that's one family. But you get a brand.
Yeah.
And you want people to join in with that brand.
Yeah.
But it's your family. Because if you don't get that, I don't think you succeed. I don't know if you know now that Reebok have just been bought by ABG, which is the authentic brand group in America. And the guy who's got 15% of it is Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh, okay.
Now, you mentioned Shaq in the book, and I didn't know if that was the Shaq, but was there
No, it's a different Shaq.
Yeah, I got confused. I thought it must be too early for Shaq.
Yeah. But Shaquille O'Neal, he's in love with the brand, just as I'm still in love with the brand. And that's what you need in a brand.
Yeah.
You need love.
It needs to be real. That comes across.
You need that passion.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people buy it just for the money and whatever. And in fact, Julie has an article. She could probably...
an article?
From, it's an American article. The ABG have just been awarded this achievement of being the best, I think it's the best business in America.
Oh, okay.
That's quite a business in America.
Possibly in the sporting goods or whatever brand business.
Yeah.
But they've been awarded that. And it's the guy's called James Salter. He's the CEO. And they own about 30 different brands, from Juicy Couture to JCPenney's. They own a lot of brands.
Yeah.
And normally what they do with brands is just license them. They own the brand and license it. But with Reebok, Shaq is so much into this brand. He wants to rebuild it. So it's a regeneration.
Right.
You know, again, it's how you spell regeneration or rebound or put the double E in.
The also, I was so glad that I didn't know that in the film Aliens, Sigourney Weaver had the futuristic Reebok boots on. And I was like, come on, that's great, that is. Like, think of that.
Yeah.
One of the greatest female heroines in one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever made.
One of my favourite films. Yeah.
Right.
How does do you approach them, or how does that work? How did that come about? Do you know?
Well, I wouldn't say it was outside of my time, but certainly when you build the brand, there's a lot of people.
Right.
And so there are people who work with Hollywood, people who with the different, with athletes.
Right.
And, they sort of take them on. You can't do
There's
it all
a system
yourself.
that sort of, okay.
Yeah.
Go on. Well, I was just going to say yes, because it was interesting because it seems you started off as very much a sort of a sports brand for sporting people, for running shoes. Literally, they have the utility and they had a practical purpose. And I think that the brand seems to have grown into something a bit more than that. I mean, I have a couple of pairs of Reebok trainers at home. I don't think I've ever run in them, to be honest. Right. Well, I hope that's not disappointing, but they're just casual.
Well, have you run in any trainers?
No. Not for a long time, to be fair. Yeah.
But Adidas, Nike, and Reebok, we're now fashion brands.
Yeah.
We become fashion brands because we're on the street.
Right.
And everybody's wearing sneakers of some description. So many people now. It's comfortable. They're warm. Everybody's casual.
Yeah.
When I started in business, you wore a suit and you wore a tie. That sort of thing. And those very awkward street shoes that it took you about 6 months to wear in.
Was it in your book? I said to them before I was talking about stuff, and I thought, oh, hang on, I think that was in your book. It was about when you got used to going to meetings in America and people were dressed in baseball caps and shoes. Was that in your book?
I don't think that was in my book, no. But
whose book was some?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, but we was talking about that before, that it wasn't the trainers aren't a utility thing. Now they are fashion. It's not designed to do something, which yours very much was at the beginning. It was a racing shoe.
Well, you've got to decide what drives a brand.
Yeah.
Even if it's fashion or whatever, and performance drives the sports brands. So whether that's musical performance, whether they're dealing with rappers or whatever, or whether it's a Jordan, somebody who was a sports person, and for us was Shaq O'Neal. Those are, that's what motivates and drives a brand. Sometimes fashion brands are driven by the catwalk and by design.
Right, yeah.
But no, what drives the sports brand now and has driven them into fashion is really people who you look around now, and these influencers are very important now, and they get paid. Our first influencer maybe was Jane Fonda, when she actually bought a pair of I
suppose they are influencers,
shoes,
aren't they? Even though it was then, that's what they are. Yeah.
Well, people. What's that person wearing? So this is the influence. So it's the
Sybil
influence.
Shepherd. That was another one. She wore.
Sybil Shepherd. She wore them at the Emmys, picking up her award. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Because you did very much pull towards the fact of it still being a utility thing, or like a specialist thing. This works, this shoe works, sort of thing.
They have to work, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. A lot of brands don't do that now. It is a fashion thing.
Well, on the tag of brands, LA Gear.
Who's ringing?
That's me, I think.
Oh, It's another big deal.
I only get one of these every 6 months.
Asia's on the phone. The president of the yeah. What phone does he use? Is it an Apple?
It's it's an iPhone. Mine 11.
Oh.
There you go, there.
There you go. So because when the shoe started off, is it J.W. Foster?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a racing shoe. I mean, you had world-class athletes choosing to wear it.
Well, in those days, to influence, you influenced other athletes.
Right.
And that was great. And then you got your gold medals, you got your world records.
Yeah.
My grandfather had 3 world records in 1904. That's a long time back, isn't it? 3 world records, all in one race. A guy called Al Shrub. And in 1908, I think it was 1906, 1909, it would be 1900, it'd be 08, the London Olympic Games, he got gold medals then. And he got gold medals through the 1920s. In fact, Chariots of Fire, if you remember, Fire, that was Harold Abrahams, Eric Liddell, and Lloyd Burley. They all won gold medals in the 1920s. Right. And they all wore them in my grandfather's shoes.
Wow.
That's how they won their medals.
Have you got like the oldest pair of Reeboks ever? Like, is there some sort of vault?
No.
No?
It's like, did I keep a diary? No. It's all had to come out of here. But, when you sit down and you start writing it, you go and you say, just a minute. I'm sure I did this as well.
Right.
Did I? Yeah. But when did I do it? So it was a matter of sort of, slowly it comes out. That's why it took 5 years.
Right, of course, yeah.
Because you remember. And then certain bits are more important. And the guy who did the colouring in, he sort of scrubbed out a lot of stuff. He said, that's just anecdotes.
Oh, okay, right. It doesn't help the story along.
No, they're just anecdotes. But I got a lot of anecdotes. They're
the fun bits. They're the fun bits, aren't they?
A bit of fun.
That's the detail. Yeah.
Did you remember it as you were writing? Did you go, I forgot about that? I forgot.
A lot of it, yeah. A lot of it. Oh yeah.
So the act of recalling sort of made the book.
Absolutely, I remember that. I mean, okay, you leave out a lot of the dross.
Yeah.
That's
what editors are for, sort of thing. Yeah.
You leave out a lot of that stuff and you go to I won't say just salient points, because I have been told that if I want to really make a big killing, I should just take out everything and just put the points down and just sort of say, sell it to the education.
Oh, right.
That advice comes from the guys who wrote Chicken Soup.
Oh, so the self-help kind of
book.
No, I've always said, this is when I was trying to look into self-help, like even the words, I don't know, it must have been early 20s, and I was trying to change my life. And I just saw absolute BS everywhere. Because I wasn't from a certain background. Like, had nothing. I had no pennies. I didn't have food. So when I was looking at it, I was thinking, this is a load of old toys. Who does this help? You've got to be halfway up the ladder before this kicks in. Power words in the office and all how to get ahead.
Well, I agree.
But what saved me, and I didn't know at the time, was when I would read about people's lives.
Yeah.
Because as long as, sort of even with your book, when I realised somebody's had it worse, it made me realise, it's possible. That's what I need. I need to see that it's already been done before. And that was literally what saved me. So when I was doing everything that I've been doing, that I had to trick myself into carrying on, like psychobubble in my own head, by saying, things are so bad for so long, but it's just another chapter in the book. And the worse it gets, the more the rest are going to fall away, and there's just going to be this ridiculous story about just kept going and kept going and kept going. Yeah. So, like with your book, I would put that on with some of the other great books of it's just a story of somebody that kept going. The teaching tool, like, I can't teach you how to do things, but I can just let you know that someone's already been through it, and that's the greatest personal development teaching tool you can have. And yours certainly helped me. So I went through it twice, 2.25 times now. But just, the struggle. I mean, even when you talk about the with your dad, and the point where wasn't expecting, where you tell him you're leaving to do your own thing, which is basically going, not just leaving, you're doing your own thing. Right. And he stood up with like a sharp object. It was a sort of a standoff, like a Wild West standoff, like what's going to happen now? And the fact that he sort of blamed you for taking your brother as well. And I thought, I always think, when you look back now, how do you think about him now? Do you think, right, I sort of get it, there was more going on than I thought at the time? Or what's your thoughts of him now?
My thoughts is that people want to talk about me, about my time. There was a time when it was his time.
Yeah.
And they went through 2 world wars, him and his brother.
Yeah.
And you think, coming out at the end of the Second World War, when you've been shut down for 6 years, you were shut down for 5 years
Yeah.
previously. You think, has this taken the fight away?
Yeah.
Has this taken away the message? Is what he's doing now just a job?
Yeah.
And I think that was it. It was just a job.
Yeah. But compared to what he'd done, having been through what he'd been through and still being successful at that level, that almost was the sort of success that you had in their terms, if you know what I mean, to have come through those times and to have a successful business with world champion athletes. That was like, well, what more do you want? Like at that time, so there's a lot to be forgiven there. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not why do we have to go across the board? This is it. We've got everything. We shouldn't even have this. So you always sort of go, yeah. And I'll never understand what your boots were like. Excuse the pun. So I always thought, I hope there's at least a sort of understanding of like, yeah, there was a lot going on there that wasn't just somebody that wasn't ambitious.
Well, I don't think he was ambitious. As I say, I think
but it must have been to get where he got.
Well, no, grandfather did that.
Oh, okay.
You're going to go back.
Don't ruin it.
Yeah,
don't ruin it.
Yeah, you go back to grandfather.
Right.
I mean, he did a lot.
Yeah.
But he died when he was 53, quite young. I say I wasn't born until 35, but I was born on his birthday, 18 months after he died, which sort of my grandmother insisted I'd brought my name with me. So, so I'm the sort of reincarnation of Joe Foster. And maybe the that DNA may be translated. Yeah. But my father and uncle, a bit like Addy Dassler and Rudy Dassler, they didn't get on at all. They fought and feuded.
Right.
So Rudy left the business and set up Puma.
I wonder if it does have to skip a generation. There's something about that.
Well, my father and uncle, they fought. They feuded. They didn't speak. So they were not working together in order to make a business happen, no matter what was in your brain.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work between the two of you, and they're 50-50, it's the worst partnership. But I'll say it's the worst ship you can sail in as a partnership. And this is it, 50-50. So they couldn't get on. So there was an acceptance, probably. That was it.
Right. Yeah.
Just very difficult to make decisions, isn't it? If you can't communicate effectively.
Yeah, and people say, well, you and Jeff were 50-50 in your business. Yeah, but somewhere around here, Jeff sort of thought, he can be the fall guy. I'll just look after the factory.
Yeah.
And I must have done a lot of things wrong in his dad, but we never, ever, ever had a bad word together.
Just didn't, personalities.
Just didn't. He just let me get on with it. I had more with his wife than I had with Jeff.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of perfect. You're a sort of specialist there, and I'm a specialist there, rather than both doing the same thing and tripping over each other. There was a bit in the book where it was very nice, and you're talking about family, where you're sort of worrying that you're going to have to lay off a few people, as you say, knowing that it's basically half the workforce, and you didn't get the reaction you thought, and even one person said, "I'll stay on and help you," and I thought, there you go, that's what we call cultivating something over time. That one person saying, "Well, I'll help you," that you don't get elsewhere. I've also, when people ask me, like, how did I carry on doing things? Because at one point there was 50 people on 3 projects, with me having to go to work in factories at night, not telling anyone, to keep the confidence in myself. 3 different projects, 50 people, and me going to work in a factory. And someone said, how do you keep all those people in London doing stuff? And it's because I always make sure I liked them and they liked me. Yeah. Because I knew from experience that if somebody sees it as a job, then they put hours onto it, and life doesn't care about your hours. So what I had to do is make sure I liked people, make sure they believed in what it is we were trying to do.
Absolutely.
Because you need a lot of buffers. Things aren't going to be on time, and you can't have people going, well, you told me this and that. If it's a job to you, it doesn't work. So when that little bit came up, it was nice that, somebody else, you cultivated a friendship, a family, like you say.
It is a family, yes.
And you can't fake that. That accident, that's to come through over years. It has to be built into the system. Little things people say.
It's part of your personality. It's part of the way you look at life.
Yeah.
If you're an optimist and somebody comes and oh, what's the matter? Oh, we can eat. That's easy. Forget that. Well, you move on. If you can move on, if you're going to change it, you change it. Yeah. If not, you move on.
That's so interesting. It's almost like it's a reflection of the company's a reflection of your personality, what you are and what you've done. I mean, it sounds obvious when you say it.
I do think that these typically organisations, you think, well, it's just the person at the top, what kind of influence they have. Well, they kind of do have a lot of influence, I think. I think it really does set the tempo, and it really does. If you have someone at the top who's not very good or disinterested or not attached to the thing or lacking any kind of conviction or confidence or passion, as you say, then that kind of goes, that's fish rots from the head down, and it really does, I think it does affect everyone. I mean, look at the country right now.
Yeah, talk about business, talk about governments.
I think it's interesting, microcosm. A lot of organisations I've worked for, people near the top have been a bit lackluster, and that's not been great, and you try and just do your best, but it does bleed down, I do think. And it's a strange thing. You think, well, me and my little cubicle somewhere, how's that affected by, I don't know, the managing director off somewhere else, but I said it sets tone.
Yeah, you don't want people to treat you like a god or even boss.
Yeah.
A boss is a wrong word. It's a terrible word. That. Oh, go and ask the boss. No. Look, Joe can help you. Or because it's like they say, if you're the brainiest person in the room, you're the cleverest person, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, that's exactly what I say. You never want to be in a room where you're the smartest one because you stop learning. Yeah,
that's right. You've got to give people that control, ownership.
Yeah.
Give somebody ownership of something. Let them bring some things to you because that's great. They enjoy it, particularly if you listen. And it's so important is to listen.
I like the little things that you just, again, you don't get this in a lot of books. It's just random little small things where you talk about having, was it a liquid press, the big machine that you had delivered? Is it liquid press? Am I saying the right words? There's something
it was probably the sole press.
Sole press, that was it. Was there a liquid word in there somewhere? No.
It was using a particular material, wasn't it?
Silicon press, something like that. No, okay, don't worry.
No.
But it was you haven't really had to get it up the stairs,
really?
And it was the point of you. This wouldn't be in an American book. Trying to edge it across the floor with a crowbar, but the crowbar's going. You don't realise
the floor.
The floor's weaker than the machine. Yeah. Oh god, that reminds.
And you're having to put everything at the edge of the.
But as it's pressing the floor,
because you might collapse the floor.
The floor is bouncing.
There's no health and safety in those days. You just did what you had to do.
Yeah, it's a little bits like that are great. Yeah.
There was Do you know what? Right, I was trying to think. I was meant to text you if you got anything Reebok, wear it because I've got one pair of trainers. But I thought the only Reebok related story I've got, which is funny now. But I was homeless for a few weeks, but when I ran away from home. And was there, I'm hoping it was Reebok. Was there a Reebok that had a basketball on the front that you would pump?
Mm.
It was Reebok.
Well, that was a wonderful bit of marketing there.
Yeah. Oh, God, that was huge.
That was genius.
But I had a pair of these. God knows, to be honest, they were either fake or stolen. I don't know. But anyway, I was living on the streets. So I had these pair. But if you want to ever see how long somebody's been on the street, you count how many bags they've got because they go down and down and down until you've got none, and that's a homeless person. And also you look at their shoelaces because they're always getting wet. You pull them, they break, they get shorter and shorter. And like me, by the end, it was just what do you call the things in a trainer? Oh, aglets? Is that? No.
Eyelets.
Eyelets,
yeah.
There was basically string on the bottom too.
Yeah.
So it got down to that level. So when I'd run, the big flap on these pumps was like this big, and it would come. So I'd have to curl my toes at the end, right? And I ran across the road, so I used to have to sort of half drag it so it didn't fall off at the back and curl my toes.
Gripping on.
Yeah. And as I crossed the road, the bloody boot, whatever it feels like more of a boot. It came off. And as I turned around, a van pulled up, grabbed it, and drove off.
Oh.
And
one shoe.
One boot.
Yes,
one boot. And I'm homeless
useful.
Anyway, so thanks.
Maybe he had another one. Maybe he had like the right one, and then he's like, there's a left one.
Think of that. That's not funny. That's like, what sort of world have you lived in that you do? Even if you do that, drop it off 100 feet up the road and laugh out the window. Yeah. Don't take it. So I had no shoe on. Like on one foot.
That's incredible, that.
Think of the person that do that.
That is incredible, yeah.
There was a bit in the book talking about wrong shoes where you said early on in the days, people were climbing over fences and you'd often, to get your trainer, and you'd see people with two different types of shoe, boot or trainer on, or two different sizes.
Well, because you've got a factory and, of course, things go wrong.
Yeah.
You don't do much, just throw it into the bins and whatever. And we used to get a lot of people around Bolton. And maybe Julie can check this for me, but I think, was it Paddy McGuinness?
Yeah.
Climbing in. You know Paddy McGuinness on television?
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's a Bolton lad.
Right.
And he recalls climbing into the bin, the Reebok.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say which one it was, but it's in North London. And she, 15 years ago, they had to start locking the McDonald's bins because they realise that after, I think it's an hour and a half, they have to get thrown out. And once word gets around, there's free food there. You literally had to lock it. Then that wasn't enough. They had to put a gate, and it got ridiculous. I mean, I would have sort of given it out for, I wouldn't have, rather than throw it in the bin, but just the rules. They
get funny about the health and safety and stuff. So.
It drives me insane. I've mentioned this before. Is it a Marks and Spencer petrol station? But it's got the mini mart in there. And every night, it happens to be the time I go in there, I see them pouring all the food into purple sacks.
Right.
And that's one store. I've seen it done in Tesco's, which effed me off. And it made it worse because the next day, where I was living was next to, I think it's Amy Winehouse, it's like a homeless shelter thing. And you'd see people first thing in the morning that's the night where they couldn't make it work anymore. And they turn up to this hostel shelter. All the bags, all clean clothes and all that, crying. I've seen people. And the night before, I've seen them literally 4 sacks full of food, pastries all poured into a bag.
Right.
And it's like, you want to strangle somebody. You think, spread that out over the country. How many is going on now? How much food is being thrown away? And you've got homeless people just up the road. I was dating a dentist. She gave me some toothpaste. Like they get like samples given to them all the time. Get rid of this sort of thing. And she gave me some. And I had boxes of this stuff. And I tried to take it into the homeless shop and said, we're not allowed to take it because it's like a medical. I thought, like the world, that's what really like that here. No, we literally can't take it. We'll do without because of the law of whatever. Toothpaste. It's not prawns. Do you know what I mean? It's not, what's going to go wrong? But if nobody wants to take a risk, I don't want to know. I'd sooner let people.
You get sued at the end of the day.
When did you depart from Reebok? Was it
the end of 1989?
Yeah, 1990.
Yeah, we got to that point where I'm flying around the world maybe 3 times a year. I'm just going around the world and getting picked up at the airport by a limousine, going to a nice hotel, probably the best in town, dining at wonderful restaurants. Great.
Sounds awful. Sounds dreadful.
Sounds awful. And I was actually hosting the Monte Carlo tennis, the tennis celebrity tournaments that we had. There were Princess Great's charity. And you've got all the stars coming in. Frank Sinatra. We've got Sean Connery, and all of them. More difficult to think of anybody who didn't turn up at these.
Charlton Heston, I saw somewhere.
Yeah, Charlton Heston. Yeah, he was great. He used to invite us everywhere. Oh, right. John Forsyth. He was in Dynasty. He was Blake Carrington of Dynasty. If you can remember
Carrington,
that. Yeah. And all these people, and they were great, and it was a great time. And I'm thinking, Joe, but this is not your life, these are A-listers. That's what they're employed to do, and you enjoyed it, and I did enjoy it. It was great fun.
Yeah.
But there came a time when I thought, why am I flying around the world like this? Where's the challenge gone?
Right. Yeah.
You'll get to that.
You're not chasing anything. Where's the show? I literally wanted to ask you this. How did you turn it off? Because you say in the book that you wake up one day and suddenly you've only got to mow the lawn. I think, but it's like because things didn't carry on after that. So I was thinking, right, what happened? What did you do?
Things did carry on. Right. I mean, a lot of things carried on. I did retire, but the phone kept ringing.
Yeah.
Joe, what happened to such and such? Because Reebok was growing that fast.
Right.
So many people coming into it. And because we actually sold the brand into the American company, we don't actually sell the brand, the shares.
Yeah.
The brand stayed in the UK, and it's still in the UK. The brand is still owned in the UK.
You'd only moved from Bolton, like, was it 2010 or something? It was still up in there. Bolton. I think I saw 2010.
Well, in 2000, that was the international division. We kept the international division well away from America, because the Americans are great in America. But once the Americans get outside of America, they try and take America instead of taking the brand.
Right.
And the brand. So I looked after the world. After putting America on, I must have put on another 30 different countries worldwide, going around and doing things and putting them all. And that's great. But once the Americans decided that they're going to go outside, like Paul Fireman, he was running the American operation, and he wanted to see every store in the world carrying the same stuff. And I was saying, Paul, no. There's different cultures.
Right, yeah.
They want different things. There's warm countries, there's cold countries.
Right,
and And in Spain, in those early days, I got this. We got our name. You read about Spain, and it's a good. It's a good story. But all their business was coastal because it was all holiday business. There were no big sports stores in the middle of Spain. They didn't have. It didn't happen.
Of course, yeah.
And so they wanted to make bikinis and swimsuits and stuff. And I'm saying, well, okay then, but keep it.
Yeah.
And once the Americans, they're making bikinis. I said, look, Paul, This is their business.
Yeah.
If you want a Reebok business, he'll sell you sneakers or sell you trainers or whatever. Yeah. But, it's a beach business.
Right, yeah.
So they need other beach stuff to go in.
God, I haven't even thought that. Yeah, I was Paul then until you explained it. You said, no, it might be a hot country. I remember somebody telling me that why chocolate tastes different in different countries. They said, like in Australia, because it's hotter, they have to put less milk in to stop it melting in movement. I thought, so that's things taste different because of the ingredients have to be changed depending on the climate, so the bloody things don't melt. I was like, so every time you talk like it within the book, but even now, when you talk about the licensing and the different things, I think, oh God, it's not a brand that you just sell. It's it splits into different little brands, and but you've got to try and keep the main source of it. So you kept that in England, that the actual brand was England.
It stays in England, yes. But I remember coming down, the Americans, I think the IRS got a bit sort of annoyed at why are you sending, I think it was 5% royalty back to England. Everything is 5% royalty. And the IRS was saying, no, you should be keeping that money. And Reebok is saying, well, it's owned in Britain. Well, we're questioning that now as to why that should be. And I remember going into Trafalgar Square and meeting with the Inland Revenue.
Oh, God.
With the Americans.
Right.
And I remember that. In fact, I've still got the cards from these guys we met. And then, the story sort of came out and they said, well, the English guy said, we're talking about IRS. Yeah. We don't do very well in an argument against the IRS.
I was going to say to you, did you take the Americans aside and say, listen, please just keep your mouth shut?
And so the Americans said, okay, well, can we move the brand?
Right.
And the guy said, yeah, you can move the brand. Of course you can. But there will be a cost.
Yeah.
Because you're taking away an asset.
Right, yeah.
And they said, well, how much then would you charge us? We're taking away. Then we were probably something like a $1.5 billion brand. How much would you charge us to take the brand and sort of register it as an American brand? And the guy said, oh, don't know. Can you give us a figure? Any idea? No. He said, if you want to move it, you move it. Well, how do we pay? We'll let you know. So it never got moved because they didn't want to take the risk of moving something. And then the Inland Revenue said, well, you've moved it. Now we want... 500 million because you moved that asset away.
Which country was it? There's a little thing about, I think with Paul, might not have been Paul, was in the meeting when they were using your name. Was that Spain? And there was a meeting where they said, okay, so how much, we're going to have to put something in the clause in the contract to say when we do buy it back from you, how much do you want?
To value the company.
And they went away and about a minute later they came up with a number. Was that Paul? Was he the one?
No, we're talking about my lawyer.
You said he gave you a wink.
Derek. Yeah, Derek. He was an unusual guy, but he was a master of law. Not bad, and he was a master of law.
Which country was this that was using the name?
Well, you ask me that question again, and I'll sit here for a minute, and then you'll realise that's the type of guy he is. Well, come on.
Really?
Yeah, and his brain would be going
right, and you just
like working out a personal chess game.
Yeah.
And then he'd come back and he'd say, okay.
Nothing more.
Okay, what?
Yeah.
Okay, what? So he would figure these out, and we went every agreement. I used to go with him, so we made the distribution agreements in all the different countries. And this one in Spain, they actually had registered the name. So within that, we had to have our name back. Right. Okay, we'll give it now, but they had to have the distribution rights.
Right. Yeah. That's yeah.
I said, yeah, no problem with that. And Derek would say, Joe, we need to go out. So we'd leave a meeting.
Yeah.
No reason. We'd sit outside. Okay, Derek, I got used to it about that. What we're going to do? I say, well, we need to let them think. We need to just, if you're sitting together, let them talk, let them think. Yeah. Let something happen. I said, okay, then we'd go back into the meeting. He could do this with the Americans really good. He was really good with the Americans. So we go back into this meeting with the Hispanic guys, and he said, well, okay, you've got the distribution. We've got the name back, but now we can't really go away from here unless we've got the rights to buy your company.
And they're thinking, oh.
Well, they're thinking, no, we're not going to sell our company. No, because that owns the brand. Or the rights because of the agreement we've got. They said, well, look, we really need to be able to buy your brand. And they said, how do you value that? And Derek said, it doesn't. We're not worried about the value.
Yeah.
We just need to have the right.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we've got the right to buy it, then that's enough for us.
Yeah.
And the guys are saying, okay, then, okay, well, what sort of value? And he said, we don't care.
Yeah.
But whatever value you want on it.
I knew there was going to be the word 10 million. I thought as a normal person, that's enough to ask to live on. Like and when you went 10, no, you said 20
million pesetas.
And I thought, I've got it wrong. And then you went pesetas. I thought, right, that's 10 million pounds. I knew a person would say 10 million.
and they put that in. And we were quite happy to walk. They were very happy for us to walk away. And it was about 12 months or less. They came back knocking on the door, and we think we're undervalued.
Yeah, too late. Yeah. Oh, that's great. You need those people around you, don't you? And those just to do that little thing like that.
Yeah.
When did things become easy? Was it like basically near the end? Because when you'd constantly be going up against things, I remember thinking in my head, oh, come on, give him a break. Like for 10 years, you've been banging your way trying to get into America. And then when you sort of done it, that was the end. I thought, oh, hang on, when did you ever enjoy it? But the whole thing was enjoyable.
The whole thing was enjoyable, yeah.
But when was the easiest times? Oh, probably the beginning.
When was the easiest time? It depends what we call easy, of course. I used to think, I've got to go back to a lawyer. I've got to use a lawyer. Maybe when we're doing 50 million, we won't need lawyers. We'll be big enough not to have lawyers. No, the number of lawyers you get
is more
twice as many.
Quadruples.
That's what I mean.
Bigger and bigger and bigger all the time.
And you say at the end, it was when things basically came down to numbers now. It wasn't the training company. It was basically numbers and letters and lawyers.
It's just 1 to 9 and a series of knots at the end of it. That's what you end up with. I mean, an nasty one. And you lose count. How do you count a billion? You'll be there all day and you won't even get anywhere near counting a billion.
At that point, you have to become an accountant, don't you?
Accountants were running the company.
We
became corporate. Once Reebok became corporate, I knew that was the time for me to say, bye. Yeah. I need to ease up and do all the things.
I was thinking, what point did you most enjoy of the process? What was the point where you were like, when you look back, could you think, that was...
It must be the American deal,
that was when I was actually having fun, and that was when I was really, having fun, but that was really,
Yeah, you have fun at various times in various ways and doing different things. And when I first took my first round-the-world flight, which was that unusual ticket around the world in 80 days or less, first class standby. I mean, that was a fun trip.
Yeah, okay. But there's moments, it's not one big thing. It's lots of, okay.
Even though on that trip, the president of South Korea was assassinated as I'm approaching, those are sorts of things. We sat down in Tehran 3 days before the students took the American hostages, and I'm on Pan Am, and you think, managed to get away with that. But, it only becomes fun when you look back on things.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes, and we were with London Business School, because the business schools now are enjoying my story. And London Business School, a guy called Jeff, he's one of the lecturers and professors interviewing, and it's a very structured course, the MBA course. This is what you do together. And so he's asking me the questions, and he's saying, Joe, we don't do it like that. I said, well, we did.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And he said, you keep on telling us it was fun. Is that not the illusion of sort of history?
Yeah.
That you've done it, so now it's fun.
Yeah.
And for a few seconds, I'm thinking, well, there's an element of that, and there is an element of that. But, I think you need to have fun.
Yeah.
And this is what we're saying. Jules got a story of Shaquille O'Neal and James Salter, who are now ABG. And they say, we're a family.
Yeah.
And if we have enough fun with this, forget the money, it'll come.
Yeah.
And that was always, it was like, not many people know Joe Foster. Well, a few more people know now.
Yeah.
But it was never about Joe Foster. It was about Reebok.
Yeah.
We all look to Reebok. Don't look to Joe Foster, but we want to make Reebok something.
Yeah.
So when was a fun time? I said there's probably a lot of it is when you look back on it, because you survive.
Yeah. When you survived.
Yeah. If you didn't survive,
I'll relax when I'm dead, sort of thing.
You can always laugh at those bits,
So, when can you remember a moment when you decided that's it? Or was it just over like months and years? Was there a moment when you knew, there you go, that's the one?
I think it took some time. I think it was slow. At the point when, towards the 89, when we'd done all this flying around, and I'm thinking, why now do I need to be flying around the world? What am I achieving?
Okay, so it started to edge its way in.
Yeah, and okay. I'm only achieving visiting friends.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but I can visit friends without all this, doing all this. So yeah, I took the plunge and said, that's it, I'm going and whatever. And I remember sitting back there, it's a bit like coming off drugs. You know, I'm thinking, where's my next flight? Where's my next ticket? Yeah. I should be at 35,000 feet. Right, yeah. You know, and that probably took about 6 months to get over. Right. The fact that why am I not going to the airport? Why am I not getting the next plane? But I guess that I probably wanted to get off the drug of just flying around the world
and when you were 50, when it sort of all that was it? Or did I make?
I was just 54 when.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what was the plan then? Did you have a plan?
No, the plan then was to sit back and just enjoy, just do some of the things. Because, you know, I've been to some remarkable places, like going into the palace in Monte Carlo and meeting up with Prince Rainier and sharing, we're together and we're sharing a glass of his champagne, which is very nice. Yeah. And he signed a book and things like that. I mean, these are memories which, you know, and this is why now when I go anywhere, Julie comes with me. She's my second wife, of course, as you can gather. She can, because a lot of these things I did on my own because I'm traveling. And you come back and say, you'll never guess where I've been. Right. All right. Where have you been? Oh, really? Fine.
Well, I guess you had to be there.
Yeah. You know,
so what is there that you want to do now?
Oh, well,
you're going to do a Joe Foster Foundation?
No. We're going to get the Reebok have a foundation, and that's good, we want the Reebok Foundation. We're going to get the book to become a bestseller in America, because there's no point in writing a book and telling the story if nobody's going to read it.
Do you sell them in sort of in trainer shops or anything like that?
Not yet, and I say not yet because it's a possibility. But that's,
definitely. I mean, that would be the first place.
Yeah,
business schools, London School of Economics, all that's perfect.
Well, the LSE and the
there you go.
The university, UCL. Yeah, we did that day before, and they're all interested and excited about it.
Especially in England, because there's a lot of it in America, but it's a different take. It's a different way of being. I'd like to be introducing the word Bolton to Americans. Bolton? Where's Bolton?
Yes, they do seem to love making a meal out of everyday nouns for us.
Well, we need to get you to sign that book. Well, and I'm not saying this, but as I've sat here now, and nobody was contradicting me saying this, it's one of the best books I've read, and I needed it. Like this, not even this week, I needed it. So I need to get you to sign it. But we were thinking of some things to put up at our new place. So America, we'll call it our new place. We haven't got the money or the deposit, but we're getting in there soon. But I want things up on the wall, and I want to see. I was trying to look. Do you have like Reebok posters or something? Is there a Reebok poster that could be found? Does that make sense, or is it just an
Reebok
advert?
Poster? Do you know, Julie?
Careful with licensing and advertising.
Because I want something. I want something in that room.
Most of the stuff that I had, and I did collect an awful lot of stuff over the time, but we move a lot. You know, right now we're almost homeless now because we were living in France during the pandemic, and then we decided, okay, we're in the wrong place because it took us 3 hours round trip to go and get a Starbucks. So we thought that's a bit silly.
May I ask what happened on this trip to Starbucks?
Well, the outside of Paris and outside of the Côte d'Azur, you can't get a Starbucks. Except on the motorways.
Right, so you have to,
So we were half an hour ride away from the motorway, so we get to the motorway. Then you had to continue the motorway up to a place called Châteauroux, where we do some shopping, and they have some beautiful places to shop, but no Starbucks. But we get our Starbucks on the motorway.
So it costs you about 50 quid to get to a coffee.
Something like that, yeah.
A plane ticket. Well, I'll need to get you to sign the book because I need something of you when you're gone to just keep me going in the new place because we need some stuff on the walls. If I can send you a poster or something, would you be able to sign it? So I'll definitely want something on the wall because that's the only I've read some other British entrepreneurs, but they're all a bit samey. It feels like they've been read by the publisher. That I think it's because you're up north. You're from north. That's what there's
That's right.
I felt that your personality came through.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
That was and you and your personality and your values and what motivated you through that, and that was the really interesting bit.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because you obviously think very differently than I do. You react very differently much better, it seems, in circumstances than I would. Because there's situations I thought I'd just give up and lie in a ditch. I think at this point, it's my natural reaction.
Like a bag of crisps,
I just go home and cry, I think, at that point. But you seem to try and be proactive and the positive and overcome these obstacles. So it was very interesting because it's very different now, I think.
Well, that's the
and I to the detriment of me, I have to say. So
I think that's technology that's done that. You know, we now have so many things like computers and smartphones. All this sort of stuff is at your fingertips now, and you can do so many different things. Then we had to invent. You know, we had to create. Yeah. All I had was a ticket to get on a plane and a handful of American Express travelers checks because I could use those anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, no credit cards. You just had to pay away, and that was the way of doing it.
The thing of somebody told me this years, just belly to belly sales, meeting people belly to belly is one of the biggest things you can learn. Right. It's because everything's human, and the more computerized you get, the more those skills fall away if they were ever there. But that's what gets you through. But right, so we're up against time with this, but I really do. Oh, before we go, talking of products, so I have to introduce our new sponsor, Noble Water, NOBL. They're aiming at being the most ethical brand of drink. Is water a drink?
Yes,
it's a drink.
Yes, I class
that there is from root to fruit. They're trying to be, and they're our new sponsor.
100% recyclable packaging.
Yeah, everything. You just had a nice drink of it. How does it taste, Joe?
It tastes okay, and it's a very, very good idea. I mean, there's a piece of plastic, I think, probably at the top here. But compared to a plastic bottle, this is fantastic.
Yeah. It says it's recycled, including the lid.
I think they're made out of plants.
Even the lid.
I think it's plant-based, yeah.
So that's Noble Water, NOBL. And they're great. I always meet I've got no right to get sponsors on when we're just starting out, but I've managed to get good sponsors. And one of the things I would always do, I'd end up being fussy, which I shouldn't really be allowed to do, is who are they? I want to meet them. Even though they're getting nothing really, let me meet them. And the guy that did this, I could only get up here at like 5:30 in the afternoon. And he came here in rush hour, carried the case up the stairs, and this is little things. Even then, in rush hour in London, came up the stairs carrying the cases, and he still had a big smile on his face when he was at the top of the stairs. And I thought that before he said anything, that tells me how you think and how you live. Just that, the fact, didn't complain, didn't look stressed, and I expect him to. And I thought, there you go. Before he said a word, I thought, no, that's the bloke I want to. So we're going to have him on the show, but it's a bit annoying that we're moving offices, and this is our last show. Also, Joe, I've christened the 1st of December Personal Development Day. It's our official, because you'd never do it in the beginning of the year when you're fattest and most overweight and most broke and most dehydrated. If you're for real, you do it at the worst time when everyone's saying, don't know, all the excuses, which is December the 1st. So it's good that we're just about to kick in as a proper company, hopefully. You've just arrived. Your book arrived on me. We've got the sponsors. So I'm hoping these are all arrows that the universe is saying, keep going, just pointing me in the right direction. Yeah. And so I would like to say thank you very much, sincerely. Thank you very much for coming down. I know you've been
a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk to people. And the message that's coming from the book, I've been surprised that there's so many messages, because you write it as it is. And only when you look back, it's like looking back on life. I think, how did you do that, Joe?
Yeah.
How did you just walk out, go to the airport and catch a plane? And you had no connections. You went wherever you went. You couldn't talk to anybody that could advise you. You just did it.
Mm. Well, I genuinely had to pinch myself that, okay, this bloke started Reebok. Like, my brain still hasn't quite got, he's a legend that is sort of sitting here, and you've been through all that. One of the biggest brands ever. And here, I mean, you are here.
I'm here.
I didn't whack my head. I'm going to wake up in a moment.
Hologram, don't worry.
But yeah, it's quite remarkable that you did that in basically half a lifetime. In terms of that's. But I'm gonna. If I ever win any awards, I'm gonna wear Reebok trainers when I do it as a little. It's going to be a nice marketing thing.
Head to toe, come on.
Yeah, and this is nothing official. Don't worry, it's not going down on paper.
I want everything.
No, I don't care. It's something I want to tell everyone. That's going on the Christmas list for anyone that even remotely talks about business, and I'll be talking about it for years. But from now on, if anything happens in the future, a nice little marketing thing for both of us, if you need the help. Everyone's going, why is he wearing? What's Reebok? What's this 2-bit? Why is he wearing Reebok trainers? That's it. That's my little homage to you of how important it is to me, that book and you.
Thank you.
So we'll let you go. But Joe, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
It's been a real pleasure. Karem?
It has been a pleasure.
Get it.
feels good to be alive. You could be larger than